Daniel Brooks stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse, watching the city lights blur through tears he refused to let fall. The moving boxes stacked against the bare walls told the story of a man who had lost everything. 3 days ago his business partner had disappeared with $12 million. 2 days ago the FBI had frozen all his accounts. Yesterday his lawyer informed him that proving his innocence would take months he didn't have. Today he had $17 in his pocket and nowhere to go. The penthouse lease ended in 48 hours. His car had been repossessed. His phone kept buzzing with messages from reporters, angry investors and former friends who wanted nothing to do with him. Everyone believed he was guilty. Everyone thought Daniel Brooks, the self-made tech millionaire who built safe tech solutions from his garage, had stolen from his own company. He sank to the floor, pressing his back against the cold wall. The headache that had plagued him for 3 days pounded behind his eyes. He hadn't eaten since Tuesday. What was the point? In a week he would be homeless. In a month he would probably be in prison for crimes he didn't commit. His former partner, Greg Martinez, had vanished to some country without extradition treaties, leaving Daniel holding the bag. The sound of a door opening made him look up. A woman in a bright red cleaning service shirt stepped into the penthouse, pushing a cleaning cart. She stopped when she saw him on the floor. "Mr. Brooks?" Her voice carried genuine concern. "Are you okay?" Daniel recognized her. "Beatrice." She cleaned the office building where SafeTech had its headquarters. For 3 years she had been a quiet presence in his life, arriving after hours, always greeting him with a warm smile when he worked late. He had never really looked at her before, never took the time to see her as anything more than part of the building's staff. "I'm fine," he lied, his voice hoarse. Beatrice set down her supplies and walked closer. She was probably in her late 30s, with kind eyes and an expression that said she had seen hard times herself. Her hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and despite the late hour, she looked alert and focused. "You don't look fine." She crouched down near him, maintaining a respectful distance. "When's the last time you ate something?" Daniel couldn't remember. "Why are you here?" "The building management canceled all services." "They canceled payment," Beatrice corrected. "They didn't cancel me. I've been cleaning your office every night this week. Someone needs to keep things in order." "I can't pay you." "Did I ask you to?" She stood and walked to her cart, pulling out a brown paper bag. "I made extra dinner. My kids won't eat leftovers anyway. Turkey sandwich, apple slices and some cookies. Nothing fancy." She held out the bag. Daniel stared at it, then at her. Pride warred with hunger. Pride lost. "Thank you," he whispered, taking the bag. His hands shook as he unwrapped the sandwich. Beatrice went about her work, giving him space but staying nearby. She dusted the empty shelves and swept the hardwood floors. Daniel ate slowly, savoring every bite. The sandwich was simple but delicious. Real turkey, fresh lettuce, wheat bread. The kind of meal he used to grab without thinking back when he had money. "Why?" he asked after finishing half the sandwich. "Why are you being nice to me? Everyone thinks I'm a thief." Beatrice paused her sweeping. "Are you?" "No." "Then that's all I need to know." She resumed cleaning. "I've worked nights for 12 years, Mr. Brooks. I've seen a lot of people in this building. Rich people, poor people, honest people, liars. You were always kind. You always said good morning even when you were busy. You held the elevator for me when my cart was heavy. Small things, but they matter." Daniel felt something crack inside his chest. He had been so focused on losing his fortune that he forgot there were people who measured worth differently. "I'm being evicted," he admitted. "I have 2 days to leave." "Where will you go?" "I don't know. Shelter, maybe." Beatrice stopped cleaning entirely. She turned to face him, her expression serious. "No. You'll stay with me." "What?" "I have a couch. It's not much, but it's better than the street. My apartment is small, but there's room." Daniel shook his head. "I can't accept that. You don't even know me." "I know enough." Beatrice crossed her arms. "My husband passed away 4 years ago. Cancer. We had nothing, Mr. Brooks. No savings, no insurance, just medical bills that buried us. But people help. Strangers help. They brought us meals, paid for medications, sat with him when I had to work. That kindness kept us alive. Now I have the chance to help someone else. I'm not going to waste it. I couldn't impose on your family like that." "You're not imposing. I'm offering." "Big difference." She walked over and looked him straight in the eye. "Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow you're going to pack up what you need. I'll come by at 6 o'clock after my day job. We'll move you into my place. You'll sleep on the couch, help out around the apartment, and we'll figure out the next steps together. Understood. Daniel wanted to refuse. He wanted to maintain some shred of his former independence. But the warmth in her eyes, the firmness in her voice, told him this wasn't charity. This was grace. Understood, he agreed quietly. Thank you, Beatrice. I don't know how to repay you. You can start by calling me B. All my friends do. She smiled and returned to her cart. And you can repay me by not giving up. Whatever happened, whoever did this to you, they don't get to win. You fight back. You hear me? I hear you. As B continued cleaning the penthouse, Daniel finished his sandwich and watched her work. She moved with efficiency and purpose, treating his empty apartment with the same care she probably gave every space she cleaned. There was dignity in her work, pride in doing the job well. For the first time in 3 days, Daniel felt something other than despair. It was small, barely a flicker, but it was there. Hope. The kind that came from unexpected places and unexpected people. His phone buzzed again. Another message from a reporter asking for a statement. Daniel ignored it. He had nothing to say to them. But maybe with BA's help he could find something worth saying later. When she finished cleaning, B packed up her supplies. 6 o'clock tomorrow, she reminded him. Don't make me come looking for you. I'll be ready. She headed for the door, then paused. Mr. Brooks? Daniel? Yes. That sandwich? It wasn't leftovers. I made it fresh today just for you. My kids ate before I left. I just thought you might need someone to care. She didn't wait for a response. She simply left, the door clicking softly behind her. Daniel sat alone in his empty penthouse, holding the paper bag that had contained his dinner. Crumbs remained at the bottom, evidence of simple kindness that had somehow filled more than just his stomach. He pulled out his laptop, one of the few possessions he had left. The battery was at 15%. He had no charger, no internet, no resources. But he had 48 hours and a woman who believed in him. That was enough to start. Have you ever had someone show you kindness when you needed it most? When everything falls apart, sometimes a stranger's compassion can change everything. If this story touches your heart, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been that person for someone else? Let us know your story. Daniel spent the rest of the night going through his files, printing what he could on the apartment's small printer before it was packed away. Bank statements, emails, contracts, everything that might help prove his innocence. Greg had been clever, but no one was perfect. There had to be something, some trail he left behind. As dawn broke over the city, Daniel finally allowed himself to sleep. He curled up on the floor with his jacket as a pillow, the printed documents spread around him like armor. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But for tonight he had a full stomach and a plan. And somewhere in this city, a woman in a red cleaning shirt was probably already at her day job, working hard to support her family, never expecting anything in return for her kindness. Daniel made a silent promise to himself and to her. He would fight. He would clear his name. And someday, somehow, he would make sure Beatrice Johnson knew that her sandwich, her offer, her faith in a stranger had saved his life. The city outside continued its endless rhythm. Somewhere, Greg Martinez was probably laughing, thinking he had won. But he had made one crucial mistake. He had underestimated Daniel's will to survive. And he had no idea that the janitor he never noticed was about to become Daniel's greatest ally. Beatrice Johnson arrived at exactly 6 o'clock, just as she promised. Daniel had packed his entire life into 4 boxes and 2 suitcases. Everything else had been sold, repossessed, or abandoned. His expensive suits, his designer furniture, his collection of first-edition business books. All gone. What remained were clothes, documents, his laptop, and a few personal items that held sentimental value. That's it? B asked, surveying the boxes. That's it. She nodded approvingly. Good. Means you're learning what matters. She grabbed one of the boxes before he could stop her. My car's downstairs. Let's get moving. Her car was a 15-year-old Honda with a dented bumper and a crack in the windshield. But it ran, and that was more than Daniel had. They loaded his belongings in 3 trips, working in comfortable silence. As they drove through the city, Daniel watched his old neighborhood fade away. The expensive restaurants, the boutique shops, the galleries he used to frequent. That life was over. BA's neighborhood was different. The buildings were older, the streets narrower. Small shops advertised in multiple languages. People sat on stoops talking. Kids played basketball in a fenced court. It was alive in a way his old neighborhood never was. Here we are. B pulled into a parking spot in front of a modest brick building. 3rd floor. No elevator, I'm afraid. They carried his boxes up 3 flights of stairs. Daniel's legs burned by the second trip, a reminder of how much his body had weakened over the past week. No gym membership anymore. No personal trainer. Just stairs and reality. The apartment was small but immaculately clean. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that opened into the living room. The furniture was old but well-maintained. Family photos covered 1 wall. The smell of something delicious came from the kitchen. Tanya, Marcus, come meet our guest, be called. 2 teenagers emerged from one of the bedrooms. The girl looked about 16 with her mother's eyes and a cautious expression. The boy was younger, maybe 13, tall for his age and curious. This is Mr. Brooks. Daniel. He'll be staying with us for a while. Hi, Tanya said politely but without enthusiasm. Marcus studied him openly. Are you the guy from the news? The one who stole all that money? Marcus. B.A.'s voice was sharp. It's okay, Daniel said. He crouched down to Marcus's eye level. I didn't steal anything. Someone I trusted took money from my company and made it look like I did it. I'm trying to prove I'm innocent. That sucks, Marcus said bluntly. Marcus, language, be warned. It really does suck, Daniel agreed, earning a small smile from the boy. Tanya remained skeptical. Mom, can I talk to you? In private? Bea and her daughter disappeared into the kitchen. Daniel could hear their hushed conversation. Tanya was worried. Worried about a stranger in their home. Worried about her mother's safety. Worried about what people would think. All valid concerns. Your sister's protective, Daniel said to Marcus. Yeah. She's been like that since Dad died. Acts like she has to be the parent sometimes. Marcus flopped onto the couch. So, you really didn't steal that money? I really didn't. How much was it? $12 million. Marcus whistled low. Man. I'd take that and go to Disneyland forever. Despite everything, Daniel laughed. It felt strange, foreign. He couldn't remember the last time he'd laughed. That would be a long time at Disneyland. Worth it though. Bea and Tanya returned. Tanya still looked uncertain, but she nodded at Daniel. Mom says you're okay. She's usually right about people. Thank you for letting me stay here. I know this is strange. It's very strange, Tanya agreed. But Mom says we help people when they need it. Even if it's weird. They ate dinner together at the small kitchen table. Bea had made chicken, rice, and vegetables. Simple food, but it was the best meal Daniel had eaten in weeks. He was used to expensive restaurants and catered business lunches. This home-cooked meal, shared with people who barely knew him, meant more than all those fancy dinners ever had. So, what are you going to do? Tanya asked. About the money, I mean. Find proof that my partner stole it. Find him. Clear my name. You have a lawyer? I did. Can't afford him anymore. Bea set down her fork. My brother Raymond is a lawyer. He might be able to help. I can't pay him. Did I say anything about payment? Bea passed him more chicken. You're too thin. After dinner, Daniel insisted on doing the dishes. It was a small thing, but he needed to contribute somehow. As he washed plates in the tiny kitchen, Marcus appeared with a towel to dry. Mom makes us do chores, Marcus explained. If you're staying here, you have to help too. Fair enough. They worked side by side, falling into an easy rhythm. Marcus talked about school, his basketball team, his favorite video games. Normal kid stuff that Daniel had never experienced. He had been so focused on building his company that he'd missed out on simple moments like this. Tanya studied at the kitchen table, occasionally glancing up at him with lingering suspicion. Daniel didn't blame her. He was a stranger, a man accused of crimes, living in her home. She had every right to be wary. Bea emerged from her bedroom with blankets and a pillow. Couch is all yours. Bathrooms down the hall. We all get up early, so don't be alarmed by noise. Tanya leaves for school at 7. Marcus at 7:30. I leave for my day job at 8. What's your day job? Daniel realized he had never asked. I work at a diner. 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then I rest a bit before my cleaning shift starts at 7. She handed him the bedding. It's a lot, but we manage. You work 2 jobs? Bills don't pay themselves. She said it matter-of-factly without self-pity. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start figuring out your situation. The couch was lumpy and too short for Daniel's height, but he had never been more grateful for a place to sleep. He lay in the darkness, listening to the sounds of the apartment. Water running. Quiet conversation. The hum of the refrigerator. Normal life happening around him. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Stop looking. You'll never find me. Enjoy prison. Greg. Had to be. Daniel stared at the message, anger rising in his chest. His former partner was taunting him, confident that he had won. Daniel deleted the message and turned off his phone. Tomorrow he would start fighting back. But tonight he would accept the kindness of strangers and rest. In the bedroom, Bea knelt by her bed and prayed like she did every night. She prayed for her children, for her late husband's soul, and now for the broken man sleeping on her couch. She had no idea if she was doing the right thing. She only knew that when she saw Daniel sitting on that empty floor, she saw her husband in his final days. Alone. Scared. In need of comfort. Everyone deserves a second chance. Everyone deserves someone who believes in them. She climbed into bed and pulled the worn quilt up to her chin. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. The city never slept. But in this small apartment, 4 people rested under one roof. 3 who had known loss and learned to carry on. And 1 who was just beginning to understand that losing everything might be the first step toward finding what truly mattered. Daniel woke to the smell of coffee and toast. For a moment he forgot where he was. Then he saw the family photos on the wall, felt the lumpy couch beneath him and remembered. He was in Beatrice Johnson's apartment, starting over from nothing. Bea appeared in the doorway, already dressed in her diner uniform. A bright green polo shirt and black pants. Her hair was pulled back and she looked tired but determined. Morning. There's coffee in the kitchen. Help yourself to breakfast. I left you a key on the counter. Lock up when you leave. Where would I go? Daniel asked honestly. Library. They have computers and internet. You need to start gathering evidence, right? She grabbed her purse. I'll be home around 3. We can talk to Raymond then. She was gone before he could respond, the door closing softly behind her. Marcus shuffled out next, still half asleep, grabbing a granola bar before heading out to catch the school bus. Tanya took more time, eating a proper breakfast while reviewing notes for a test. You can use the shower after I leave, she told Daniel. But don't use all the hot water. Mom needs some when she gets home. I won't. After Tanya left, Daniel found himself alone in the apartment. He showered quickly, changed into jeans and a t-shirt from his limited wardrobe, and sat at the kitchen table with his laptop and a cup of coffee. The library was a good idea, but first he needed to organize what he already had. He spread out his printed documents, creating piles based on dates and transaction types. Greg had been clever, routing money through multiple accounts, creating fake vendors, inflating expenses. But there were patterns. There had to be patterns. 3 hours later his phone rang. An unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Daniel Brooks. Yes. This is Lawrence Chin from First National Bank. Your landlord called about your outstanding rent. I understand your accounts are frozen, but the building management is threatening legal action. I'm calling to inform you that if payment isn't received by end of business today, they'll proceed with eviction proceedings. Daniel's stomach dropped. He had forgotten about the penthouse rent. $12,000 for the month. I don't have the money. My accounts are frozen by federal order. I understand, sir. I'm sorry. I just wanted to give you notice. The call ended. Daniel sat staring at his phone. Even though he had already moved out, the eviction would go on his record. Another black mark. Another way Greg's betrayal kept destroying his life. He needed help. Real help. Legal help. The library was a 20-minute walk. Daniel used the time to clear his head, to think through his strategy. He needed to prove the money transfers weren't authorized by him. He needed to show that Greg had access to all the same systems. He needed evidence that would convince the FBI to look at someone else. The library was busy with students and job seekers. Daniel found an empty computer station and logged into his email. 300 unread messages. Most were from reporters or angry investors. He ignored those and focused on correspondence with Greg from the past 6 months. An email chain about updating the company's financial software. Greg had insisted on being the one to handle the transition. Daniel had agreed, thinking his partner was trying to lighten his workload. In reality, Greg was probably creating backdoors to funnel money out. Daniel forwarded the emails to himself, creating a backup. Small pieces of evidence. Not enough yet, but something. At 3 o'clock he walked back to the apartment. Bea was already home, her feet soaking in a basin of warm water while she drank iced tea. She looked exhausted. How was your day? She asked. Productive. Found some emails that might help. How was yours? Long tips were okay. Had a table that left me 20%, so that was nice. She dried her feet and stood. Raymond will be here at 4. I told him about your situation. He wants to hear everything. Raymond Johnson arrived exactly at 4. He was younger than B, maybe early 30s, dressed in a neat blue suit that had seen better days but was clean and pressed. He carried a leather briefcase that was worn at the corners but still functional. Daniel Brooks. I've heard a lot about you. Raymond shook his hand firmly. My sister says you're innocent. That's good enough for me to listen. They sat at the kitchen table. Tanya and Marcus were sent to their room to do homework. Daniel walked Raymond through everything. The discovery of missing funds. Greg's disappearance. The FBI investigation. The frozen accounts. The assumption of guilt. Raymond took notes on a yellow legal pad, asking questions, circling key points. When Daniel finished, Raymond sat back and whistled low. This is complicated. I know. But not impossible. Raymond tapped his pen against the pad. Your partner was smart but rushed. He disappeared too quickly. That suggests panic, not careful planning. Panic people make mistakes. Can you help me? Raymond looked at his sister. B nodded encouragingly. I can try. Full disclosure, I usually handle small claims and contract disputes. This is way above my normal work. But I have friends who specialize in white-collar crime. I can reach out, see if anyone will consult. I can't pay you, Daniel said. I can't pay anyone. My sister is letting you live here rent-free. Feeding you. Caring about you. I think I can manage to file some paperwork and make some calls. Raymond smiled. Besides, if we win, you can buy me a really nice dinner someday. Daniel felt that crack in his chest again, the one that had started when B offered him a sandwich. These people owed him nothing. He had more education, more experience, more resources than any of them. At least he used to. Now he was the one receiving grace. Thank you, he managed. Both of you. I don't understand why you're doing this. B and Raymond exchanged a look. Raymond spoke first. When our dad died, he left Mom with debt and 3 kids to raise. She worked 3 jobs. But the community helped. Church members brought food. Neighbors watched us after school. A local businessman gave Mom a loan at no interest so she could keep the house. We learned that people can be good even when they don't have to be. We're just passing it forward, B added. Someone helped us. Now we help you. Someday you'll help someone else. That's how it works. Daniel nodded, not trusting his voice. These people understood something he had spent his whole career ignoring. Money wasn't security. Community was. Connection was. Love was. Raymond spread out Daniel's documents and began organizing them into categories. We need to establish a timeline. Every transaction, every email, every meeting with your partner. If there are discrepancies between what you authorized and what actually happened, we can build a case for fraud. They worked until dinner time. B ordered pizza, a rare treat she insisted on despite Daniel's protests. As they ate, Marcus and Tanya joined them, asking questions about the case like it was a mystery show. So, the bad guy is in another country? Marcus asked around a mouthful of pepperoni. Probably, Raymond confirmed. Can't the FBI go get him? Not if there's no extradition treaty. Some countries don't cooperate with U.S. law enforcement. That's stupid, Marcus declared. It is, Daniel agreed. But it's reality. After dinner, Raymond packed up his briefcase. I'll start making calls tomorrow. In the meantime, Daniel, keep documenting everything. Any detail, no matter how small. We need to build an airtight case. When Raymond left, Daniel helped B clean up. They worked side by side in the kitchen, a routine already forming between them. She washed, he dried. Easy. Comfortable. Your brother is a good person, Daniel said. The best. He worked 3 jobs to put himself through law school. No one handed him anything. Your whole family is remarkable. B paused, her hands in the soapy water. We're just ordinary people, Daniel. We've had hard times. We've made mistakes. But we try to do right by each other and by others. That's not remarkable. That's just being human. But it was remarkable to Daniel. He had spent years chasing success, building wealth, climbing ladders. He had measured his life in stock options and profit margins. He had forgotten what it meant to simply be kind. That night, lying on the lumpy couch in the dark, Daniel made a decision. If he got through this, if he cleared his name and rebuilt his life, he would be different. He would be better. He would remember the people who helped him when he had nothing to offer in return. His phone buzzed. Another message from Greg's number. Give up. You can't win. Daniel typed back for the first time, watch me. Then he blocked the number and went to sleep. Tomorrow he would fight. But tonight he was safe. Federal, surrounded by people who believed in him. And for now that was enough. The next morning, Daniel woke with purpose. For the first time since his world collapsed, he had a plan and people willing to help execute it. He was up before anyone else, making coffee and reviewing his notes at the kitchen table. Bea emerged at 6, surprised to find him already working. "You didn't have to wake up this early." "Couldn't sleep. Too much to do." She poured herself coffee and sat across from him. "What's your plan for today?" "Library again. I need to access our company's cloud storage. My personal login still works. I want to download everything before Greg thinks to lock me out." "Smart." She sipped her coffee. "Raymond called me last night. After he left. He said your case is interesting." His exact words. "Interesting good or interesting bad?" "Interesting like he wants to help. He's bringing a friend of his this evening. Another lawyer who specializes in financial fraud." Daniel felt hope spark. Real hope. "I don't deserve this." "Stop saying that." Bea's voice was gentle but firm. "You deserve help because you're a human being who needs it. That's the only qualification required." She left for work shortly after. The kids emerged, grabbed breakfast and headed to school. Daniel was out the door by 8, walking to the library with his laptop and a notebook. He spent 6 hours downloading files. Contracts, invoices, bank statements, internal emails. Everything he could access. Greg had been thorough in his theft, but he couldn't erase every trace. No one could. Around 2, Daniel's stomach reminded him he hadn't eaten. He had $3 in his wallet. Enough for a candy bar from the vending machine. He bought it and sat outside the library eating slowly and watching people pass by. Everyone looked busy. Important. Like they had places to be and purposes to fulfill. Daniel used to be like that. Now he was the guy eating a Snickers bar on a bench because it was all he could afford. "Daniel?" He looked up. A woman stood in front of him, someone from his old life. Michelle Rodriguez, a former business associate. She looked uncomfortable. "Hi, Michelle. I thought that was you. Are you okay?" "Depends on your definition." She shifted her weight. "I saw the news. Everyone's talking about it." "I bet they are. Did you really steal that money?" Daniel took another bite of his candy bar. A week ago, her question would have angered him. Now he just felt tired. "No. My partner did. He framed me. I'm trying to prove it." "Oh." She processed this. "Do you need anything? Money or?" Her offer was genuine, but Daniel could see the hesitation in her eyes. She wanted to help but was afraid of being associated with him. Afraid of the scandal. "I'm okay. But thank you for asking." She nodded, relieved he didn't take her up on it. "Well, good luck. I hope you figure it out." She walked away quickly. Daniel watched her go. A month ago, she had attended his company's holiday party, drinking his expensive wine and praising his vision. Now she could barely look at him. That was the thing about wealth. It attracted people, but it didn't create real connection. When the money disappeared, so did most of the relationships. But not Bea. Not Raymond. Not even Tanya and Marcus, who had nothing to gain from helping him. He finished his candy bar and went back inside to continue working. By the time he returned to the apartment at 4, he had downloaded over 10,000 files. It would take weeks to review everything, but somewhere in that data was evidence of Greg's theft. Raymond arrived at 5, bringing his friend. The man introduced himself as Peter Morrison, a lawyer in his 40s with sharp eyes and an easy smile. He wore a maroon blazer and carried himself with confidence. "Raymond tells me you've been set up," Peter said, settling at the kitchen table. "Tell me everything." Daniel walked through the story again, this time with more detail. Peter asked specific questions about the company's financial structure, about who had access to what accounts, about the timing of transactions. "Your partner had complete access to everything?" Peter asked. "Yes. We split responsibilities. He handled finances. I handled product development and client relations." "That's your first mistake right there. Never give anyone complete control." "I know that now." Peter studied the documents Daniel had printed. His eyes moved quickly, processing information at an impressive speed. After 10 minutes he looked up. "This is good. Really good. Your partner got greedy. See these transactions here?" He pointed to a series of transfers. "They're too large. If he'd been smarter, he would have taken smaller amounts over a longer period. But he wanted the money fast, which means he made mistakes." "Can you prove I didn't authorize them?" Daniel asked. "Maybe. We need your digital footprint. Where were you when these transactions happened? What devices were you using? If we can show you were logged into the system from your phone in California while someone was transferring money from a computer in New York, that's solid evidence." "How do we get that information?" Subpoenas. Court orders. It's a process, but it's doable. Peter made notes. I'll take your case. Daniel's heart skipped. I can't pay you. Raymond explained. I'm not worried about payment right now. I'm worried about justice. If you're innocent and I think you are, then someone needs to fight for you. Consider this pro bono work. Besides, Peter smiled, when we win and your assets are returned, you can pay me then. When we win. Not if. I don't take cases I don't think I can win. Bad for my reputation. They spent the next 2 hours strategizing. Peter explained the legal process, the timeline, the challenges. It would take months, maybe a year. But there was a path forward. After Peter left, Daniel helped Bea make dinner. She was teaching him to cook simple meals, patient with his mistakes. Tonight they made spaghetti with homemade sauce. Nothing fancy, but the kitchen filled with good smells and easy conversation. You're learning, Bea observed as Daniel stirred the sauce without splashing. I'm trying. I've never cooked before. Always had someone else do it. That must have been nice. I thought so. But this is nice too. Different nice. Tanya and Marcus joined them for dinner. The conversation flowed naturally. Marcus talked about his basketball game. Tanya complained about her chemistry teacher. Daniel shared updates about his case. It felt like family. After dinner, while the kids did homework, Bea pulled out a notebook. I've been thinking about your case, she said. I take accounting classes at night. Community college. I'm working toward my degree. I didn't know that. Not many people do. I started after my husband died. Figured I needed better skills to get a better job. Anyway, I've been looking at your financial statements. The ones you printed. She opened her notebook. Pages of neat handwriting, columns of numbers, highlighted sections. I think I found something. Look at these vendor payments. They're all to companies I can't find online. I Googled every single one. Nothing. They don't exist. Daniel leaned in, studying her notes. She was right. Greg had created fake companies to funnel money through. But Daniel had been so busy with product development that he never questioned the vendor list. This is evidence, Daniel said, excitement building. This proves the fraud. Maybe. We need to confirm these companies are fake. Corporate records, business licenses, that sort of thing. Can we do that? Raymond can. He has access to business databases through his firm. Daniel looked at Bea with newfound respect. She was brilliant. Not educated in the traditional sense, but smart in ways that mattered. She saw patterns. Asked questions. Didn't accept things at face value. You're amazing, he said honestly. She blushed slightly. I just know how to read financial statements. It's more than that. You care. You actually want to help. Of course I do. You're living here. Eating at my table. Part of our routine now. She closed her notebook. Besides, I believe you. And when I believe in someone, I fight for them. Later that night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He lay on the couch thinking about the day's progress. Real lawyers working on his case. Evidence being gathered. A path forward. But more than that, he thought about Bea. Her kindness. Her intelligence. Her unwavering faith in him. He was falling for her. The realization hit him suddenly but felt undeniable. This woman who had every reason to turn him away had opened her home and heart instead. She saw him at his worst and decided he was worth saving. Are you someone who helps others without expecting anything back? When the world turns away, some people choose to stay. If this story resonates with you, please subscribe and tell us about a time when someone's kindness changed your life. Your story might inspire someone else today. Daniel knew he needed to focus on clearing his name. Romance was the last thing he should be thinking about. But the heart didn't follow logic. It followed truth. And the truth was that Beatrice Johnson had become the most important person in his life. He heard movement in the hallway. Bea emerged, wearing a robe, heading to the kitchen for water. She saw him awake. Can't sleep, she whispered. Too much on my mind. She sat on the edge of the couch. Want to talk about it? Just thinking about how different my life is now. A month ago, I wouldn't have believed any of this was possible. Living here. Having people like you and Raymond help me. Learning to cook. It's all so strange. Strange bad. Strange good. Different good. I spent so many years chasing money that I forgot about people. Real people with real problems and real hearts. Bea smiled in the darkness. We're all just doing our best, Daniel. Trying to get through each day, trying to help each other along the way. That's all life is really. A collection of small moments where we choose to be kind or not. You always choose kind. I try. Doesn't always work out, but I try. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Bea stood. Get some rest. Tomorrow Raymond's going to verify those fake companies. We're making progress. After she left, Daniel closed his eyes and let sleep finally claim him. He dreamed of courtrooms and victory, of cleared names and new beginnings. But mostly, he dreamed of Bea's smile and the way she made him believe in himself again. Sunday morning arrived with the smell of pancakes and bacon. Daniel woke to find Bea already cooking, music playing softly from her phone. She hummed along, moving around the small kitchen with practiced ease. "Morning," he said, sitting up and folding his blanket. "Morning. Hope you're hungry. I always make too much food on Sundays." Tanya and Marcus emerged, drawn by the smell. They gathered around the table, plates loaded with pancakes, bacon, and fresh fruit. It reminded Daniel of television shows he used to watch, idealized families sharing meals. He never thought he'd experience it himself. "What's the plan today?" Marcus asked through a mouthful of pancakes. "Church at 10, Bea said. Then lunch. Then homework for you too." "Do I have to go to church?" Tanya asked, the same question she apparently asked every week based on Bea's eye roll. "Yes. The Lord gave you 7 days. You can give him 2 hours. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "Should I stay here?" Bea looked at him with surprise. "Why would you stay here?" "I don't want to impose. You're part of the household now. You come with us." She said it like it was obvious. No debate. An hour later, Daniel found himself in a small Baptist church, surrounded by people he didn't know. The congregation was diverse, working-class families dressed in their Sunday best. The building was old but well-maintained, with worn pews and bright stained-glass windows. People greeted Bea warmly, asking about her week, complimenting Tanya's dress, high-fiving Marcus. Then they turned to Daniel with curious but friendly expressions. "This is Daniel," Bea introduced him. "He's staying with us for a while." That was all the explanation she gave, and remarkably, that was all anyone needed. They welcomed him, shook his hand, told him they were glad he came. No one asked about the news. No one mentioned the scandal. They just accepted him because Bea vouched for him. The service was different from anything Daniel had experienced. Loud music. Energetic singing. A pastor who preached with passion about second chances and redemption. People shouted "Amen" and "Preach" throughout. Daniel found himself moved despite his skepticism. The message was simple. Everyone falls, but with help and faith, everyone can rise again. It felt personal, aimed directly at him, though of course it wasn't. After the service, Bea introduced him to more people. Sister Martha, an elderly woman who hugged like she meant it. Brother William, a mechanic who offered to look at Daniel's car before realizing he didn't have one anymore. Pastor James, who told Daniel that God works in mysterious ways and sometimes uses difficult circumstances to teach important lessons. "Your girl Bea is special," Pastor James said quietly. "She's been through a lot. Lost her husband too young. But she keeps her faith and helps others. She's a blessing." "She is," Daniel agreed, the words "your girl" echoing in his mind. Lunch was at a small soul food restaurant where everyone seemed to know Bea. She insisted on paying, waving off Daniel's protests. They ate fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, and cornbread. Marcus ate like he hadn't been fed in weeks. Tanya picked at her food while texting friends. "Put the phone away," Bea said gently. "We're eating as a family." Tanya complied with a sigh. "Mom, everyone at school is talking about Mr. Brooks. They're saying mean things." Daniel tensed. He hadn't considered how his presence might affect the kids socially. "What kind of things?" Bea asked calmly. "That he's a criminal. That we're stupid for letting him stay with us. Jessica Chen said her parents told her to stay away from me." "Jessica Chen's parents don't know the whole story," Bea said firmly. "Daniel is innocent. He's being framed. And even if he wasn't, we still help people who need it. That's what we do." "But Mom?" "No buts. You know who Daniel is now. You've seen him help around the house, do dishes, be respectful. You judge people by what you see, not by what others say." Tanya nodded reluctantly. Daniel felt guilt wash over him. These kids were suffering because of his situation. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I never wanted to cause problems for you all." "You're not causing problems," Marcus said, surprising everyone. "Jessica Chen is stuck up anyway. She thinks she's better than everyone." "Marcus, be warned. It's true. Tanya, tell her if she doesn't want to be your friend because you help people, then she's not a real friend anyway." Out of the mouths of 13-year-olds, Daniel thought. The kid was right. After lunch they went to a park. Marcus played basketball with some friends. Tanya sat on a bench reading. Bea and Daniel walked around the small lake, enjoying the mild weather. I'm causing problems for your family, Daniel said. At school, probably at your work too. A few people at the diner asked questions. I told them you're innocent and they can mind their own business. B. Daniel, stop. You're not responsible for other people's judgment. You're responsible for your own actions. Your actions have been honest and kind. That's what matters. They walked in silence for a while. Ducks glided across the lake. Kids played on swings. Normal Sunday activities for normal families. Daniel felt so far from his old life it seemed like a dream. Can I ask you something? B said suddenly. Of course. What are you going to do when this is over? When your name is cleared and you get your money back? Daniel thought about it. I don't know. Rebuild my company, I guess. But differently. Better. I want to focus on helping people, not just making profit. That's good. She paused. Will you forget about us? The question caught him off guard. What? No. Never. You saved my life, B. All of you. Why would I forget that? Rich people sometimes do. When they don't need help anymore, they move on. Forget the little people who helped them when they were down. Daniel stopped walking. He turned to face her. I'm not like that. Or maybe I was, but I'm not anymore. You changed me. This whole experience changed me. Even if I wanted to forget, which I don't, I couldn't. You're part of my life now. B smiled, but there was sadness in it. You say that now. But when you're back in your penthouse, when you have your fancy dinners and important meetings, you'll remember us as a strange time in your life. A detour. You really think that little of me? I think you're a good person. But I also know how the world works. People from different worlds don't usually stay connected. Daniel wanted to argue to convince her she was wrong. But he understood her fear. She was protecting herself, expecting him to leave eventually. It made sense. He probably would have thought the same thing in her position. I'll prove you wrong, he said simply. When this is over, you'll see. They rejoined the kids and spent the rest of the afternoon together. Marcus taught Daniel some basketball moves. Tanya warmed up to him more, asking about his company and what it was like to run a business. Daniel answered honestly, not sugarcoating the difficulties. On the drive home, Marcus fell asleep in the back seat. Tanya plugged in her headphones. B drove in comfortable silence, occasionally humming along to the radio. Daniel looked out the window at the passing neighborhoods. Modest homes with small yards. Kids riding bikes. People sitting on porches. This was real life. This was community. This was what mattered. When they got home, there was a package at the door. No return address. Daniel's name on the label. What is it? B asked. Daniel opened it carefully. Inside was a burner phone and a note. You want proof? Meet me at Coffee Corner tomorrow at noon. Come alone. A friend. Who sent this? Tanya asked, peering over his shoulder. I don't know. Daniel turned the note over. Nothing else. Could be a trap, B said, her voice worried. Could be help. Raymond arrived later that evening for their weekly family dinner. When he saw the note, he frowned. Don't go alone. The note says. I don't care what the note says. This could be dangerous. Or it could be someone from inside my company. Someone who knows what Greg did and wants to help. They debated for an hour. Finally, they compromised. Daniel would go to the meeting, but Raymond would be nearby. They would use the burner phone to stay connected. That night, lying on the couch, Daniel thought about tomorrow. About the mysterious package and what it might mean. About BA's question at the park and her fear that he would forget them. He wouldn't. Couldn't. These people had become his anchor, his reason to keep fighting. Whatever happened tomorrow, whatever happened with his case, he knew one thing for certain. His life was divided into two parts now, before Beatrice Johnson and after. And the after was infinitely better, even with all the problems. Monday morning arrived with nervous energy. Daniel dressed carefully, choosing jeans and a blue button-down shirt. He wanted to look approachable but serious. The Coffee Corner was a small cafe downtown, neutral territory, public enough to be safe but private enough for conversation. B made him breakfast, her worry evident in the way she kept checking the time. You'll be careful? She asked for the third time. Raymond will be there. I'll be fine. These things never go smoothly in movies. This isn't a movie. Promise me you'll call if anything feels wrong. He took her hand, surprising both of them. I promise. Her hand was warm in his, calloused from hard work but gentle. For a moment they just stood there, connected. Then Marcus burst into the kitchen looking for his backpack and the moment passed. Raymond picked Daniel up at 11. They drove downtown, going over the plan again. Raymond would sit at a table near the back. Daniel would take a table by the window. If anything went wrong, Daniel would signal by scratching his head. "This is ridiculous," Daniel muttered. "Like we're in a spy movie." "Better safe than sorry," Raymond replied. Coffee Corner was busy with the lunch crowd. Daniel got a coffee and chose a table by the window as planned. Raymond sat 3 tables away, pretending to read documents. Daniel checked his watch. Noon exactly. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Daniel started to think it was a prank. Then a woman approached his table. Daniel Brooks. She was middle-aged, professionally dressed in a navy suit, carrying a leather briefcase. She looked nervous, constantly glancing around. "Yes. Who are you?" "My name is Helen Torres. I work in accounting at SafeTech." "Or I did. I was laid off last week." She sat down without being invited. "We don't have much time." "Time for what?" Helen opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. "Greg Martinez has been stealing from the company for 2 years. I discovered it 6 months ago. I tried to report it, but he was my supervisor. He buried my concerns and started a paper trail, making it look like I was incompetent. Then he framed you and disappeared." Daniel's heart raced. "You have proof?" "Everything. Bank records, emails, internal memos. I kept copies of everything before he could delete them." She slid the folder across the table. "I should have come forward sooner. I was scared. Greg threatened my job, my reputation. He said no one would believe me. After he framed you and ran, I realized I couldn't stay silent anymore." Daniel opened the folder. Pages of financial records, highlighted sections showing discrepancies, emails where Greg instructed Helen to process transactions that violated company policy. "Why now? Why help me?" "Because you don't deserve what's happening to you. And because my conscience won't let me stay quiet." Helen glanced at her watch. "I have to go. My lawyer advised me to turn this over to the authorities, but I wanted you to have copies first. You deserve to know the truth." "Thank you. You have no idea what this means." "I think I do." Helen stood. "Good luck, Mr. Brooks. I hope you get your life back." She left quickly, disappearing into the lunch crowd. Daniel sat frozen, staring at the folder. This was it. Real evidence. Not just patterns or suspicious transactions, but documented proof of Greg's fraud. Raymond appeared at his side. "Was that her?" "Yes. She gave us everything." Daniel's hands shook as he showed Raymond the documents. Raymond flipped through the pages, his lawyer brain processing quickly. "This is solid. Really solid. With this, we can prove you were framed. She's turning it over to the authorities." "Good. We need multiple copies. Let's get these scanned immediately." They went to a print shop and spent 2 hours scanning and organizing everything. Helen had been thorough. She had transaction records, audit trails, even a recording of a conversation where Greg admitted to moving money without authorization. The recording was dated 3 months before the theft was discovered. Why didn't she come forward then? Daniel wondered. Fear. People lose jobs, reputations, futures. She probably thought she could handle it internally. Raymond organized the copies into 3 sets. But now we have ammunition. Real ammunition. They returned to BA's apartment at 3. She was home from her diner shift, feet up, drinking iced tea. When she saw Daniel's face, she sat up quickly. What happened? Daniel told her everything. About Helen Torres, the documents, the recording. About finally having proof that he was innocent. Bea listened quietly, her expression shifting from worry to relief to joy. When Daniel finished, she did something unexpected. She hugged him. A real, genuine, full-contact hug that lasted several seconds. You're going to be okay, she whispered. Finally, you're going to be okay. Daniel hugged her back, breathing in her scent. Something floral and clean. Simple and real. Everything about Bea was real, and it was the thing he valued most. Raymond cleared his throat. I'll call Peter. We need to file these documents with the court immediately. The FBI will want to see them too. That evening, Peter Morrison arrived with another lawyer from his firm. They reviewed everything, cross-referenced dates, verified authenticity. By midnight they had a strategy. We file a motion to dismiss the charges against you, Peter explained. We present this evidence showing Greg's systematic fraud. We show you were a victim, not an accomplice. With Helen's testimony, the case against you falls apart. How long will it take? Few weeks. Maybe a month. The legal system moves slowly. But Daniel, you're going to win. This evidence is too strong to ignore. After everyone left, Daniel and Bea sat in the quiet living room. The kids were asleep. The city outside hummed with its usual night sounds. You'll be leaving soon, Bea said softly. What? When your name is cleared. When you get your money back, you'll move back to your old life. I told you. I know what you told me. But reality is different. You have a business to rebuild. A reputation to restore. You can't do that living on my couch. Daniel turned to face her. What if I don't want my old life back? Not exactly like it was anyway. Everyone wants their old life back when they lose it. Not me. The person I was before? He was successful but lonely. Rich but disconnected. He had everything and nothing. Daniel paused, choosing his words carefully. You know what I have now? On your couch, eating your homemade dinners, doing dishes with Marcus? I have peace. I have purpose. I have people who care about me, not my bank account. Daniel, I'm not saying I want to stay on your couch forever. That would be weird. But I'm saying I don't want to go back to who I was. I want to be better. And you showed me how. B looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Oh, fear. Both? What are you saying exactly? I'm saying you matter to me. Your kids matter to me. This life, this community, these people at your church who welcomed a stranger. It all matters. And when this is over, I want to figure out how to keep it in my life. We're from different worlds. So what? People bridge worlds all the time. It's not that simple. Why not? B stood, pacing the small living room. Because I have responsibilities. 2 kids to raise. Bills to pay. A life that exists in this neighborhood, in that church, with those people. I can't just merge into your fancy world. I'm not asking you to. I'm saying maybe I want to be part of your world. For how long? Until you get bored? Until someone from your old life reminds you of what you're missing? Daniel stood too, closing the distance between them. I fell in love with you. The words hung in the air. B froze. I know the timing is terrible. I know I'm a mess. I know I have nothing to offer right now. But I needed to say it. I fell in love with your kindness, your strength, your faith. With the way you make pancakes on Sunday and take care of everyone around you. With how you see the good in people even when they can't see it themselves. B.A.'s eyes filled with tears. Daniel, you're not thinking clearly. You're grateful. That's not the same as love. It's both. I'm grateful and in love. Can't it be both? She wiped her eyes. I can't talk about this now. It's too much. Too fast. I understand. I just needed you to know. B went to her bedroom, closing the door softly. Daniel stood alone in the living room, his heart pounding. He had said it. Put it out there. Now she knew. He lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation. Maybe he should have waited. Maybe it was too soon. But life had taught him recently that tomorrow wasn't guaranteed. Sometimes you had to be honest, even if the timing was imperfect. In her room, B sat on her bed, crying quietly. She had felt something growing between them too. But she was scared. Scared of being hurt. Scared of her kids getting attached to someone who might leave. Scared of hoping for something that seemed impossible. Her late husband had been her high school sweetheart. She had never imagined loving anyone else. And now here was Daniel, this broken man she had helped, offering her his heart. She didn't know what to do with it. The next 2 weeks moved quickly. Peter and Raymond filed motions with the court. The FBI reopened their investigation based on Helen Torres's evidence. News outlets that had crucified Daniel suddenly wanted interviews to hear his side of the story. Through it all, Daniel stayed in B.A.'s apartment, living in limbo between his old life and something new. The dynamic between him and B changed after his confession. They were more careful around each other, overly polite, avoiding the heavy conversation they needed to have. But small moments kept happening. Hands brushing while doing dishes. Eyes meeting across the dinner table. Comfortable silences that spoke louder than words. Tanya noticed. Are you and Mom dating? She asked one afternoon while they worked on her math homework together. No. Why? Because you look at her like my dad used to. Before he got sick. Daniel didn't know what to say to that. Tanya saved him by moving on to the next math problem, but her observation stayed with him. Marcus noticed too. You like my mom, he declared one evening while they played video games. Everyone likes your mom. She's a good person. No, I mean like her. Is that still what kids say? I'm asking a serious question. Daniel paused the game. Would that bother you? If I liked your mom that way? Marcus considered it. Dad's been gone 4 years. Mom deserves to be happy. She works too much and worries too much. If you make her happy, then I guess it's okay. I'd never try to replace your father. Good. Because you couldn't. But you could be something else. Something new. Kids were wise in ways adults forgot to be, Daniel thought. Raymond came by regularly with legal updates. The FBI wants to interview you again. This time they're investigating Greg, not you. When? Friday. Peter will be with you. It's just a formality at this point. They have Helen's evidence. They have the audit trail. They know you're innocent. Daniel should have felt relieved. Instead, he felt anxious. Once his name was cleared, everything would change. The question was, change into what? On Thursday evening, BA's church held a potluck dinner. She invited Daniel, who had become a regular at Sunday services. He made pasta salad following a recipe Bea taught him, proud of his improving cooking skills. The church fellowship hall filled with people and food. Everyone knew about Daniel's situation now. Instead of judgment, he received encouragement. Sister Martha squeezed his hand and told him she was praying for justice. Brother William offered him a job at his mechanic shop if he needed work. Pastor James pulled him aside for a private conversation. Bea told me you're getting close to clearing your name. Yes, sir. That's good. Real good. But I'm more interested in what happens after. After? After your name is cleared. After you get your money back. What then, son? Daniel looked across the room where Bea was laughing with friends, her face lit up with genuine joy. I'm not sure yet. Let me tell you something about Bea. She's special. Strongest woman I know. But she's been hurt. Lost her husband. Struggled to keep her family together. She doesn't trust easy anymore. I know. Do you? Because it's one thing to say you care when you're living on her couch with nothing. It's another thing to still care when you have options again. I'm not going to hurt her. I don't think you mean to. But intentions don't always match actions. You're a good man, Daniel. I can see that. But you're also a man returning to a very different world. Just remember what matters. And who matters. The conversation stayed with Daniel through dinner, through the cleanup, through the drive home. Pastor James was right. It was easy to value simplicity when you had no choice. Would he still value it when complexity was an option again? That night, after the kids went to bed, Bea and Daniel ended up on the small balcony off the living room. It barely fit 2 chairs, but they squeezed in, looking out over the neighborhood. Lights twinkled in windows. Somewhere, someone was playing music. You've been quiet tonight, Bea observed. Pastor James gave me some things to think about. He's good at that. What did he say? He asked what I'm going to do after my name is cleared. Made me think about choices and priorities. Bea was quiet for a moment. Have you decided? I've decided what I want. Not sure if I can have it. What do you want? Daniel turned to look at her. She was wearing a green sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked tired but beautiful. Real. Everything he never knew he needed. I want to rebuild my company but differently. Focus on ethical technology that helps people. Create jobs that pay well and treat employees fairly. Use profit to fund community programs. He paused. And I want to do it near here. Near this neighborhood. Near your church. Near you. Daniel. I'm not asking you to make any decisions tonight. I know you need time. I know I need to prove myself. But I wanted you to know my plan. When this is over, I'm not disappearing. I'm staying. Bea looked out over the neighborhood, processing his words. What about your old life? Your friends, your connections, your world? What friends? Everyone disappeared when the money did. The connections were superficial. The world was empty. He reached for her hand, and this time she let him take it. This is real. You're real. Your kids are real. The people at your church are real. This is what I want. It's easy to say that now. I know. So let me prove it. Give me time to show you I mean it. She looked at their joined hands, then at his face. What are you really asking? I'm asking if, maybe, when all of this is settled, you'd let me take you on a proper date. Dinner. Conversation. Just us. To see if this thing between us is real or just circumstance. And if it's just circumstance? Then we stay friends. I still rebuild my life near here. Your family still matters to me. But we figure out the boundaries. And if it's real? Then we see where it goes. No pressure. No expectations. Just honest exploration. Bea was quiet for a long time. Daniel waited, holding her hand, listening to the city around them. Finally she spoke. Okay. One date. After everything is settled. After your name is cleared and your life is back on track. We'll go to dinner and talk. Really talk. About what this is and what it could be. That's all I'm asking. She smiled, and it was like sunrise. You're going to regret this, you know. Dating a woman with 2 teenagers and a full-time job and strong opinions about everything. Can't wait. They sat together on the tiny balcony, hands joined, looking out at the neighborhood that had become Daniel's home. Somewhere in this city, Greg Martinez was probably enjoying stolen money. Somewhere, lawyers were preparing court documents. Somewhere, the machinery of justice was slowly turning. But here, in this moment, Daniel had what mattered. Hope. Connection. The promise of something real. The path ahead was uncertain. But for the first time in months, Daniel wasn't afraid of uncertainty. He had learned that losing everything could teach you what everything really meant. And it meant this. It meant her. It meant home. Friday arrived with the weight of significance. Daniel dressed in the one suit he had kept, a charcoal gray one that B had pressed for him the night before. Peter Morrison picked him up at 8, briefcase full of evidence, confidence radiating from every gesture. "This is it," Peter said as they drove downtown. "After today your nightmare ends." The FBI building was imposing, all concrete and glass and serious faces. Daniel had been here once before, 3 months ago, when they treated him like a criminal. Today felt different. Today he walked in with his head high, innocent and able to prove it. Agent Sarah Mitchell met them in the lobby. She was the lead investigator, the one who had frozen Daniel's accounts and recommended charges. She looked uncomfortable now, a rare display of emotion from someone trained to remain neutral. "Mr. Brooks, thank you for coming in. Did I have a choice?" Daniel couldn't keep the edge from his voice. "Fair point." She led them to a conference room. "I owe you an apology. We moved too fast based on circumstantial evidence. Helen Torres's testimony and documentation paint a very different picture." "So you believe me now?" "We believe the evidence, which shows that Gregory Martinez orchestrated an elaborate fraud, with you as the intended scapegoat." They spent 3 hours going over everything. Every transaction, every forged signature, every fake vendor. Helen had given them enough to build an airtight case against Greg. The FBI had already issued a warrant for his arrest and was working with Interpol to locate him. "What happens to my assets?" Daniel asked. "The freeze will be lifted within 48 hours. Your accounts will be restored. The court will also award you damages from your company's insurance policy to cover the stolen funds." Agent Mitchell slid a document across the table. "This is an official letter clearing you of all suspicion. You're free to resume your life, Mr. Brooks. And again, I apologize for what you've been through." Peter grinned. "That's what I like to hear." They left the FBI building at noon. Daniel stood on the sidewalk, blinking in the bright sunlight, trying to process what just happened. It was over. The nightmare was actually over. "Congratulations," Peter said, shaking his hand. "You're officially innocent. Your reputation will be restored. And you're about to be significantly wealthier than you were before, thanks to those insurance damages." "I can't believe it." "Believe it? You fought hard. You had good people helping you. Justice won." Peter checked his watch. "I have to get back to the office. We'll handle all the paperwork. Within a week, everything should be fully processed." Daniel watched Peter drive away, then started walking. He needed to move, to think, to let the reality sink in. He had his life back. His money, his reputation, his freedom. Everything he thought he'd lost forever was being returned. He found himself at the park where he and B had walked weeks ago. The same ducks glided across the lake. The same kids played on swings. But everything felt different now. He was different now. His phone rang. "Raymond. Heard the news from Peter. Congratulations, man. You did it. We did it. I couldn't have done this without you and your sister. You would have figured something out. But I'm glad we could help." Raymond paused. "What's next?" "I don't know. I need to figure out where to live, how to restart my company, what to do with this second chance. And what to do about my sister." Daniel smiled. "That too. Don't hurt her, Daniel. I know you're a good guy. But she's been through enough. If you're not serious, walk away now." "I'm serious." "Good. Because if you break her heart, I know a lot of lawyers who would love to sue you for something." They both laughed, but the message was clear. B had people who protected her. Daniel would have to prove he belonged in that circle. He spent the afternoon walking, thinking, planning. By the time he returned to the apartment at 5, he had the outline of a plan. B was home cooking dinner. The smell of roasted chicken filled the apartment. She looked up when he entered, reading his expression immediately. "It went well?" "It went perfectly. I'm cleared. Completely and officially cleared." She set down her knife and walked to him, pulling him into a hug. "I knew it would work out. I knew it." Daniel held her, allowing himself to feel the relief, the joy, the gratitude. "I couldn't have survived this without you." "Yes, you could have. You're stronger than you think." "Maybe. But I wouldn't have wanted to." They stood together in the small kitchen, holding each other, letting the weight of the past months finally lift. Then the door burst open and Marcus ran in, followed by Tanya. "Is it true?" Marcus asked. "Did they really clear your name?" "It's true. I'm innocent. Officially." Marcus whooped and high-fived him. Even Tanya smiled, genuine and warm. "This calls for a celebration," B declared. "Dinner is almost ready. We'll eat, then we'll have dessert. I made your favorite, Marcus. Chocolate cake." They gathered around the table like they had done dozens of times before. But tonight felt different. Special. This wasn't just dinner. It was a victory feast. A marking of the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. "So what happens now?" Tanya asked as they ate. "Do you move back to your fancy penthouse?" "I need to find a place to live," Daniel admitted. "But not a penthouse. Something smaller. Something that feels like home." "What about the couch?" Marcus joked. "It's all yours." Everyone laughed, but Daniel saw the question in B.A.'s eyes. When would he leave? How would this new dynamic work? After dinner, after cake, after the kids went to their rooms to do homework, Daniel helped B clean up. "We need to talk," he said. "I know." They went to the balcony again, their spot for difficult conversations. The night was cool, the city lights bright below. "My accounts will be unfrozen in 2 days," Daniel said. "I'll be able to afford a place to live again. To restart my life." "That's good. Really good. But I meant what I said before. I want to stay near here. Near you. I want that date. I want to see if this is real." B leaned against the railing. "You're about to be wealthy again. You could live anywhere, do anything. Why stay here?" "Because here is where I learned what matters. Because here is where I found people who cared about me when I had nothing. Because here is where you are. Daniel, you're in transition. You're grateful and emotional. That's natural. But when you get back to your old life..." "I don't want my old life. How many times do I have to say it? But you don't really know what you want yet. You're still figuring it out. I know I want you in my life. However that looks. Friend, partner, whatever you're comfortable with. But I'm not walking away now that I can afford to." B turned to face him. "This scares me. You scare me. Not because you're a bad person, but because I could really fall for you. And then what? You realize this neighborhood is too loud, my job is too humble, my life is too simple. You get bored and leave. I've already lost one person I loved. I can't do it again." Daniel took her hands. "I can't promise I'll never leave. Life happens. People grow. Things change. But I can promise I'm here now, fully here, wanting to explore this thing between us. I can promise that your neighborhood, your job, your life is anything but too simple. It's real and beautiful and exactly what I've been missing." "What about your company? Your career?" "I'll rebuild. But differently. I want to focus on ethical technology. Maybe work with local communities. Create something that matters beyond profit margins." He squeezed her hands. "I want to build something good. And I'd like you beside me while I do it. Not because I need you to take care of me, but because you inspire me to be better." Tears filled B.A.'s eyes. "You really mean this?" "Every word." She took a shaky breath. "Okay. Yes. Let's try. Let's have that date and see where it goes. But slow. We go slow. As slow as you need. And you meet my expectations. I have high standards. I'd expect nothing less." She laughed through her tears. "This is crazy. A month ago you were just the man who worked late at the office building. Now you're living on my couch and asking me on dates. Life is strange." "Life is beautiful," she corrected. He pulled her close, resting his chin on top of her head. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other, watching the city lights, feeling the future spread out before them full of possibility. Inside the apartment, Marcus peeked out from his bedroom. He saw them on the balcony and smiled. His mom looked happy. Really happy. For the first time since Dad died, she looked like maybe, just maybe, joy was possible again. He went back to his homework, humming quietly. Sometimes good things happen to good people. His mom was the best person he knew. She deserved this. Deserved someone who looked at her the way Mr. Brooks did. Yeah, this was going to work out just fine. 2 weeks later, Daniel stood in front of a modest 2-bedroom apartment 3 blocks from B.A.'s place. The landlord, an elderly man named Mr. Patterson, showed him around the space. Hardwood floors, updated kitchen, plenty of natural light. Nothing fancy but clean and comfortable. "I'll take it," Daniel said. Mr. Patterson looked surprised. "Don't you want to see other places? Compare prices? This is perfect. When can I move in?" "First and last month's rent, security deposit. You can move in Saturday." Daniel wrote the check, his first use of his restored accounts. It felt good to have money again, but better to use it for something simple and real. He spent the next days shopping for furniture. Not the expensive designer pieces he used to own, but practical items from local stores. A comfortable couch, a sturdy bed, a kitchen table with 4 chairs. Dishes and pots and pans. Everything needed to build a home, not a showplace. Bea helped him shop, offering opinions and keeping him from buying anything too fancy. "You don't need a $400 coffee maker," she said, steering him toward a simple one. "But it has 18 settings. Coffee has 1 setting. Hot. This one is $30 and works fine." She was right, of course. She was right about most things. Raymond helped him move in on Saturday. Marcus and Tanya came too, turning it into a family affair. They carried boxes, assembled furniture, argued about where the couch should go. It felt natural, easy, like they'd been doing this together for years instead of weeks. "Your place is nice," Tanya said, looking around the living room. "Normal nice. Not trying too hard nice." "Thank you. I think it's a compliment. My mom says people who try too hard are usually compensating for something." "Your mom is wise." By evening, the apartment was functional. Not perfect but livable. They ordered pizza and ate sitting on the new couch, paper plates on their laps, celebrating Daniel's first night in his new home. After everyone left, Daniel sat alone in his apartment, feeling the weight of solitude. He had been living with Bea's family for so long that being alone felt strange. But it was good strange. Necessary strange. He needed his own space to figure out who he was now, separate from the person he used to be. His phone buzzed. A text from Bea. "How's the first night in your new place?" "Quiet. Strange. But good. Thank you for all your help." "Anytime. Sleep well." He smiled at his phone like a teenager with his first crush. This thing between them was growing, becoming something real. But they were taking it slow, just as Bea wanted. The next week, Daniel started working on his company's resurrection. But instead of diving back into safe tech solutions, he created something new. Brooks Technology Initiative, a nonprofit focused on bringing technology education to underserved communities. He rented office space in Bea's neighborhood. A small suite in a converted warehouse, nothing fancy but functional. He hired 3 employees to start. People from the community. People who needed chances like he had been given. His first project was creating a coding boot camp for local high school students. Free classes, mentorship from industry professionals, internship opportunities. The kind of program that could change lives. Pastor James let him present the idea at church. The response was overwhelming. Parents signed their kids up. Community members volunteered to help. Local businesses offered support. Within 2 weeks, Daniel had 20 students enrolled and a waiting list of 30 more. "You're really doing this," Bea said one evening as they walked through the neighborhood after class. "I'm really doing it. Feels good. Different from before, but better." "What was it like before?" "Running Safe Tech." "Stressful. Always chasing the next contract, the next investor, the next level of growth. Never stopping to ask why or who it was helping. And now I wake up knowing I'm making a difference. Even if it's small. Even if it's just teaching kids to code. It matters." They walked in comfortable silence, their hands occasionally brushing but not quite holding. The slow approach Bea wanted. Daniel respected it, even though part of him wanted to rush forward. "I signed up for more classes at the community college," Bea said suddenly. "Advanced accounting. Business management. I'm thinking about getting my bachelor's degree." "That's incredible. When do you start?" "Next semester. It'll mean cutting back on my cleaning hours, but I think I can make it work with my diner job and financial aid. I could help with tuition." "No." She stopped walking. "I appreciate the offer. Really. But I need to do this myself. Need to know I can." "I understand." They resumed walking. Daniel wanted to push, to insist he could help, but he understood her need for independence. She had been taking care of herself and her kids for years. She didn't need rescuing. She needed support, not salvation. The following Sunday, Pastor James announced that Daniel's boot camp had received a grant from a major tech company. $10,000 to expand the program and provide computers for students who didn't have them. After service, people congratulated Daniel, thanking him for investing in their community. He felt uncomfortable with the praise. He wasn't doing anything special. He was just using his resources and skills where they were needed. But Sister Martha pulled him aside. "Don't dismiss what you're doing, young man. You had a choice. You could have gone back to your old life, chased money, forgot about us. But you stayed. You're building something here. That matters. That evening, Daniel and Bea finally had their first official date. He picked her up at 7, nervous like a teenager. He wore dark blue slacks and a white button-down. She wore a red dress that made his breath catch. "You look beautiful," he said. "You clean up nice yourself." They went to a small Italian restaurant Raymond had recommended. Nothing fancy, just good food and quiet atmosphere. They talked for hours. About their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. About loss and hope and second chances. "Tell me about your husband," Daniel said over dessert. "If you're comfortable." Bea smiled, a mix of sadness and warmth. "His name was James. We met in high school. He was funny and kind and worked construction. We got married young, had the kids, were building a good life. Then he got sick. Pancreatic cancer. Went fast. 6 months from diagnosis to death. I'm sorry. He was a good man. Great father. I loved him completely. But he's gone. And I've spent 4 years living in the past, afraid to move forward." She reached across the table, taking Daniel's hand. "You make me want to move forward. That's terrifying and exciting at the same time. We'll move at whatever pace feels right. What about you? Any serious relationships in your past?" Daniel shook his head. "Dated casually. Never anything serious. I was too focused on work, on success. I thought relationships could wait until I achieved my goals. Then I achieved them and realized I was alone. And now I know that relationships are the goal. Connection is success. Everything else is just details." They left the restaurant and walked through the neighborhood, ending up at the park. They sat on a bench by the lake, watching the water reflect moonlight. "This was a really good date," Bea said. "Does that mean there will be a second one?" "Definitely. But let's keep taking it slow. I want to make sure this is real. That it lasts. I'm not going anywhere. That's what scares me. What if you're not supposed to be here? What if you're supposed to be doing something bigger and I'm holding you back?" Daniel turned to face her. "You're not holding me back. You're the reason I'm moving forward in the right direction. Before you, I was successful but empty. Now I'm rebuilding something meaningful. You didn't hold me back. You saved me." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "You saved yourself. I just gave you a couch and some sandwiches. And hope. And faith. And a reason to keep fighting." They sat together by the lake, not needing to say more. The night was peaceful, the city quiet around them. Daniel had everything he needed in this moment. Not wealth or status or recognition. Just a good woman beside him and a future full of possibility. His phone buzzed. A message from Peter Morrison. "FBI located Martinez. Arrested in Costa Rica. He's being extradited. Trial scheduled for next month. Thought you'd want to know." Daniel showed Bea the message. "It's really over. Greg's caught. Justice is happening." "How do you feel?" "Relieved. Vindicated. But also, I don't hate him. I should, but I don't. He gave me the worst experience of my life, but it led me here. To you. To this community. To understanding what really matters. I almost want to thank him. That's growth. That's therapy. And good people surrounding me." They stayed at the park until midnight, talking and laughing and planning. Then Daniel walked Bea home, their fingers finally intertwined, holding hands like it was the most natural thing in the world. At her door they paused. "I had a wonderful time tonight," Bea said. "Me too. Can I kiss you?" "Not yet. But soon. When I'm sure. I can wait. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for being worth waiting for." He walked home alone, his heart full. Slow was hard, but slow was right. They were building something solid, something that would last. And that required a foundation, not just passion. His new apartment welcomed him, cozy and warm. His space. His fresh start. His second chance at getting life right. And 3 blocks away, Bea lay in bed thinking about the man who had come into her life at exactly the right moment. The man who had nothing but gave everything. The man who saw her not as a cleaning lady or a single mom, but as a complete person worthy of love and respect. She wasn't sure where this was going. But for the first time in 4 years she was excited to find out. 6 months passed like a beautiful dream. Daniel's coding boot camp grew to serve 60 students. 3 graduates had already been accepted to college with full scholarships. The Brooks Technology Initiative expanded to offer adult classes, teaching job skills to people looking to change careers. Bea graduated from community college with her associate degree and immediately enrolled in a bachelor's program. She cut back to one job, focusing on the diner and her studies. Daniel had offered financial help multiple times. She had refused multiple times. They had learned to respect each other's boundaries. Their relationship deepened slowly, carefully. More dates. Long conversations. Meeting each other's worlds. Daniel attended every one of Marcus's basketball games. He helped Tanya prepare for college applications. He became part of their family without replacing their father's memory. 4 months into their relationship, they shared their first kiss. It happened naturally, beautifully, after a community event where Daniel's students showcased their coding projects. Bea had been so proud of him, of what he built, that she simply leaned in and kissed him. Finally, he had whispered against her lips. "Worth the wait?" she asked. "Absolutely." Now, 6 months later, Daniel stood in Raymond's office, nervous and excited. "You're sure about this?" Raymond asked. "Completely sure. It's fast. Only 6 months. We've been through more in 6 months than most couples experience in years. I know her. I know her kids. I know what I want." Raymond studied him. "Okay. Then you have my blessing. But if you hurt her..." "I know. Lots of lawyers who would sue me." "You've mentioned it." Raymond grinned. "Just making sure you understand the terms." Daniel had a plan. A good plan. He spent the next week preparing, coordinating with everyone involved. Pastor James, Sister Martha, Marcus, Tanya, even some of Daniel's former business associates who had apologized and wanted to support his new venture. The night of the proposal was disguised as a celebration dinner for the boot camp's graduation. Daniel had invited Bea under that premise. She arrived at the church fellowship hall at 7, wearing a green dress he loved, expecting a casual community gathering. Instead, she walked into a room transformed. White lights strung across the ceiling. Tables arranged elegantly. Everyone she cared about gathered together. Her church family, her brother Raymond, her children, even some co-workers from the diner. "What is this?" she asked, confused. Daniel stepped forward, taking her hand. "This is me showing you how much you mean to me." He led her to the center of the room. Music started playing. A song they had danced to on their 3rd date. "6 months ago I was broken. Hopeless. Ready to give up on everything. Then you walked into my empty penthouse with a sandwich and refused to let me quit." Daniel's voice carried across the quiet room. "You didn't just save my life, Bea. You taught me how to live it. Really live it. With purpose and kindness and love." Tears started forming in Bea's eyes. She looked around at all the faces watching them, then back at Daniel. "You showed me that wealth isn't measured in money. It's measured in relationships and community and making a difference in people's lives. You gave me everything when I had nothing. And now, I want to give you everything I am for the rest of my life." Daniel got down on one knee. The room erupted in gasps and cheers. Bea's hands flew to her mouth. "Beatrice Johnson, you are the strongest, kindest, most beautiful woman I've ever known. You inspire me every day to be better. To do better. To love better. Your children are incredible because you raised them right. Your faith is unshakable because you live it genuinely. I don't want to spend another day without you officially in my life." He pulled out a ring. Simple, elegant, with a blue stone that matched her eyes. "Will you marry me?" Bea stared at him, tears streaming down her face. The room held its breath. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, "Yes. Of course yes." The room exploded in celebration. Daniel slipped the ring on her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that made everyone cheer louder. Tanya and Marcus rushed forward, hugging both of them. Raymond clapped Daniel on the shoulder. Sister Martha dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief. "You were supposed to wait at least a year," Bea said, laughing and crying simultaneously. "I couldn't wait. I know what I want. I want you. I want our family. I want to build a life together." "Our family?" "If the kids are okay with it." Daniel looked at Tanya and Marcus. "I know I can never replace your father. I wouldn't try. But I'd like to be part of your family. To help take care of you and your mom. To be someone you can count on." Tanya hugged him fiercely. "You already are." Marcus grinned. "Does this mean I can call you Dad?" "If you want to. Or Daniel. Or hey you. Whatever feels right." "I'm going with Dad." "Sounds cooler." The celebration continued for hours. Food appeared, catered by the restaurant where they had their first date. Music played. People danced and laughed and shared stories about Bea and Daniel's journey. Pastor James pulled Daniel aside. "You did good, son. She deserves happiness. You both do. Thank you for believing in us. I believe in what you built together. Not just the relationship but the community work. The boot camp. The initiative. You took your second chance and multiplied it into chances for others. That's what faith looks like in action." Later, sitting at a table with Raymond, Peter, and some of the boot camp students, Daniel reflected on the journey. From the empty penthouse to this moment. From despair to joy. From isolation to family. What are you thinking about? Bea asked, sitting beside him and taking his hand. How lucky I am. How different my life is now. Different better? Different perfect. What happens next? After we get married? We keep building. The boot camp. Your degree. Our family. We create a life that matters. Together. Sounds like a good plan. The best plan. They stayed at the celebration until midnight. Then they walked home together, their hands intertwined, their hearts full. Marcus and Tanya walked ahead, already planning the wedding and arguing about details. They're happy, Bea observed. They are. Are you? She stopped walking and turned to face him. I'm happier than I ever thought I could be again. After James died, I thought that part of my life was over. That I'd just be a mom and worker, existing but not really living. Then you showed up. Broken and lost and needing help. And somehow helping you helped me too. We saved each other. We did. And now we get to build something new together. At her apartment building they paused. Come upstairs, she said. Have coffee. Celebrate a little longer. Are you sure? It's late. I'm sure. Besides, we need to start planning. I want a small wedding. Just family and close friends. Nothing fancy. Whatever you want. They went upstairs. The kids immediately disappeared to their rooms, giving them privacy. Bea made coffee while Daniel sat at the kitchen table where he had eaten so many meals over the past months. This place holds a lot of memories, he said, looking around. Good ones? The best ones. This is where I learned to live again. Where I found family. Where I fell in love. Bea brought the coffee and sat beside him. Where do you want to live after we're married? Your place? Here. Somewhere new. I don't care where we live as long as we're together. But practically we'll need more space. Maybe a house with a yard. Somewhere the kids can have their own rooms. Somewhere we can build a real home. That sounds perfect. Nothing too fancy though. I want normal. I like normal. Normal is my favorite thing about you. They talked until 2 in the morning. About wedding plans. About combining their lives. About the future they would build together. Everything felt possible, exciting, right? When Daniel finally went home, walking the 3 blocks to his apartment, he felt complete. Not because he had regained his wealth or cleared his name, but because he had found something more valuable than anything he lost. He had found love. Real, honest, transformative love. The kind that made him want to be better. The kind that saw his flaws and chose him anyway. The kind that built rather than consumed. The next morning he woke to a text from Bea. Good morning, fiancé. Can't wait to spend forever with you. He smiled at his phone, feeling like the luckiest man alive. Good morning, future wife. Forever sounds perfect. Greg Martinez went to trial 3 weeks later. Daniel attended, sitting in the courtroom with Bea beside him. He watched his former partner get convicted on 12 counts of fraud and sentenced to 15 years in prison. Justice served. But Daniel felt no satisfaction in Greg's downfall. He felt sadness for wasted potential, for choices that destroyed lives. He hoped Greg would use his prison time to become better, to understand the harm he caused. After the trial, reporters wanted statements. Daniel gave them one. This chapter is closed. I'm focused on the future now. On building something meaningful. On making a difference. That's all. No bitterness. No anger. Just peace and purpose. The wedding took place 3 months later in the same church where they first met. Small and intimate, exactly as Bea wanted. She wore a simple ivory dress. Daniel wore a blue suit. Tanya was maid of honor. Marcus walked his mother down the aisle, proud and trying not to cry. Pastor James officiated. We're gathered today to witness something beautiful. 2 people who found each other in the darkest moment and chose to build something bright together. 2 people who understand that love isn't just feeling. It's action. It's choice. It's showing up every day and choosing each other again and again. They exchanged vows they had written themselves. Daniel promised to honor Bea's strength, support her dreams and love her children as his own. Bea promised to believe in Daniel's vision, celebrate his kindness, and build a life of purpose together. When Pastor James pronounced them husband and wife, the small congregation erupted in joy. Daniel kissed his bride, tasting tears and happiness and the sweet promise of forever. The reception was held in the church fellowship hall. Potluck style, everyone bringing their favorite dishes. No fancy caterers or expensive champagne. Just good food and good people celebrating love. Raymond gave a toast. I've known my sister my whole life. She's the strongest person I know. When life knocked her down, she got back up. When she had nothing, she shared what little she had. When someone needed help, she gave it without question. Daniel, you're one lucky man to have her. And B, you're one lucky woman to have found someone who sees you for the incredible person you are. Here's to building a beautiful life together. Sister Martha gave a toast. Love is patient. Love is kind. But love is also brave. It takes courage to open your heart after loss. It takes faith to try again. These two have that courage. That faith. May they build a home filled with joy, laughter, and purpose. Marcus gave a toast. So, my new dad is pretty cool. He plays video games with me, comes to my basketball games, and makes my mom really happy. That's all I ever wanted. Someone who treats her right and sticks around. Welcome to the family, Dad. You're stuck with us now. Everyone laughed and cried and celebrated until evening. Then Daniel and B left for their honeymoon. Not somewhere exotic or expensive. They went to a cabin in the mountains, simple and quiet, where they could rest and begin their life together away from the noise of the world. On their first night as husband and wife, they sat on the cabin's porch, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. Happy? Daniel asked. Happier than I ever imagined. You? Complete. Absolutely complete. What do we do now? We live. We love. We build. We make every day count. That sounds perfect. They sat together in the peaceful night, two people who had been broken and found healing in each other. Two people who understood that the best things in life weren't things at all. They were moments like this. Connections like theirs. Love that transformed. Daniel thought back to that night in the empty penthouse, contemplating giving up. If someone had told him then that his darkest moment would lead to his greatest joy, he never would have believed it. But here he was, married to the love of his life, part of a real family, building something meaningful with his work, living with purpose. Sometimes losing everything was the only way to find what truly mattered. And what mattered was love, community, purpose, connection. What mattered was her. What mattered was home. And he had finally found it. The end. 3 years later, Daniel and B stood in front of a new building. The Brooks Johnson Community Center. Named after both their families. Funded by Daniel's business success and built with community support. Inside were computer labs for the boot camp, classrooms for adult education, a gym for youth sports, a commercial kitchen for job training. Everything the neighborhood needed, all under one roof. Marcus, now 16 and a coding prodigy, would intern there during summers. Tanya, now 19 and in college, had designed the center's logo. Raymond served on the board. Sister Martha ran the food program. Pastor James held services in the auditorium on Sundays. We did this, B said, looking at the building with pride. We did, Daniel agreed. Together. They held hands, watching as people from the neighborhood toured the facility, excited and grateful. This was legacy. This was impact. This was what wealth was meant to do. Help people. Build community. Create opportunity. And at the center of it all was love. The love between a man and woman who found each other when they needed it most. The love that transformed despair into hope. The love that proved second chances were real. The love that saved them both.